I need to tell you something. And by doing this, I will certainly expose myself to severe penalties, but it's impossible for me to keep this to myself. I'm unsure what's happening, or if there's a way out. But I can't just let things happen without trying something. I'm scared. I'm afraid of what might happen to my family. I'm also very afraid of what might happen to the whole population. But more than anything, I'm afraid because I don't know what we really are. I've been suspicious of everything since January 1st. I can't tell truth from lies, place things in time, or trust people passing by anymore. This may seem crazy now, but you'll understand soon. It's just that, unlike all of you, I remember everything. I know you also have memories, probably shouting Happy New Year at midnight on December 31st with family or friends. But what happened next, between midnight and 1 AM, is completely wrong. Those are memories completely made up by those things, believable memories, so that you never question anything. But I guess this system isn't absolutely perfect. Otherwise, I couldn't tell you this. I had a perfectly normal start to the new year. I ate with my family, we listened to music, and we talked about the events that happened during the year. I'll spare you the many details. Nothing suggested that something like that was going to happen. Absolutely nothing. I hadn't had anything to drink, not a single drop of alcohol, and all I wanted was for the evening to be over. I was exhausted after working the previous night and struggled to keep my eyes open. I toasted with a cola in front of the television, watching the New Year's countdown go by. 10, 9, 8, 7. Everyone was counting out loud, like in most households nationwide. I guess 6, 5, 4, 3. People kept counting aloud, but I felt everything slowing down, as if time and space were bending. 2. My head started to hurt. I had stopped counting. But the others continued as if nothing was wrong, their voices sounding like slow-motion vinyl records. I felt a wave surge through my head as my body convulsed violently. I could barely keep my eyes open, as if an invisible force made me fall asleep. But despite my strong will, my eyelids started to close little by little. I was on the verge of falling into nothingness, when a sudden noise pulled me out of my daydream. It was the sound of breaking glass. My muscles were so tense that my glass of Coke exploded in my hand. My willpower instantly returned. My body felt lighter, and the pressure in my head vanished. So I took a deep breath. I had no idea what had just happened. To be honest, at that moment, I was sure I was having a heart attack or some kind of stroke. Looking around, I quickly saw the problem wasn't just about me. Everyone was there. My mother, my father, my aunt, my 2 cousins, and my cousin. They were all there. But not quite. They stood with eyes closed, their faces frozen in the same expressions as moments before. They were all smiling. I swallowed with difficulty. As I touched my father's arm, I looked at his stomach, and I saw that he was breathing slowly, but he was breathing. On the other hand, no matter how much I shook his arm, he didn't react at all. It was as if he had fallen asleep, or rather, as if time had stopped. I looked at my watch, and the seconds kept ticking by. I didn't understand anything at all. The television displayed only static, and the room was eerily silent. I walked all around the room. I tried to wake up some of the people. Most of the men were standing, but nothing happened. No one woke up, no one moved. What was happening? I had no idea, and the television showed strange interference on every channel. But as I was flipping through the channels with the remote, some kind of metallic noise coming from outside the house broke the silence. I ran to my window and watched the street, trying to find the source of the strange noise. My neighbor's silhouette stood on their porch, raising glasses to the sky. They seemed paralyzed. Was everyone in that state? I was questioning myself about the reasons for what was happening. I wondered if it was a biological weapons test or something similar when I saw a strange black cube about 3 meters tall in the middle of the road. It was about 2 meters wide, perfectly black, and was located under a streetlight that dimly lit the street. At first, I thought my eyes were deceiving me, but soon realized they weren't. When I saw the two strange figures, tall and thin, come out of that cube, there was no door on the cube. The figures didn't seem to need one, since they passed through the cube as if it wasn't made of solid matter. I didn't understand what I was seeing, but my curiosity kept me watching. The figures neared the two frozen in the street. I could see their skin as they got closer. Their grey skin gleamed like winter black ice. They had strange eyes, perfectly round, and a very thin mouth, without lips, but from which two long sharp teeth stuck out. My heart tightened as I wondered what it might be. Were they aliens? People frozen by an unknown force. A massive black cube appears in the street. And now this? I started to believe I was losing my mind. Then the figures grabbed one of the two people and laid them down on the floor of the Porsche. They took out some kind of cylindrical tool and started to unbutton my neighbor's shirt. And then, a few moments later, they pointed their tool at his chest. A purple light started to shine from the tip of the tool. And then, they made strange movements, going from the top to the bottom of my neighbor's body. I waited for a few moments, wondering what they were doing to him, until I saw a perfectly straight wound appear on my neighbor's body. It extended from his chest to his pelvis. Suddenly, they thrust their hand into his belly. I recoiled and was ready to turn back. I felt like throwing up, but I needed to know more. Morbid curiosity made me watch the rest of this horrible spectacle. They took out his organs, but I couldn't tell you which ones. It was too dark at that moment. I didn't notice at first, but my neighbor still held his glass and kept the same expression, while he was being emptied of his organs by those monsters. They made a few trips back and forth in that strange cube, dropping off organs, and then came back to take more from the body. After a while, they went back into the cube, but they stayed longer than usual. My neighbor's body lay motionless on the ground, chest fully open and nearly empty. Blood poured from his mouth and his long wound. The entities then came back to him and placed several things inside my neighbor. I'm not quite sure. It seemed they were restoring the organs. Or were they new ones? I had no idea. They took out their strange tool again and repeated the same movement. A moment later, the wound was gone. They wiped away the blood and propped my neighbor's body beside his wife. It was after they put my neighbor's shirt back on him that they started speaking the language they spoke. I should never have been able to understand it. It was strange, lacking any logic. I could almost have called it a weird noise, rather than a real language. Only I completely understood. I couldn't explain why or how, but I clearly knew what they were saying. Their language seemed universally understood by all entities in this world and nearby galaxies. Their words to each other will never be remembered. I remember everything perfectly, as if it were imprinted in my mind. Here's what they exchanged.
We're going to collect more human attributes here, and we'll send them the scans by echo. Still need more analysis before reactivation. We still have to go to 3 more human cities before we leave. In an hour, the other 12,000 units should be done. And next year, we will then begin the 785th phase of analysis, only a few more years before we reclaim our planet.
Alas, the figures turned around and entered the large cube. I remained behind my curtains as the craft silently lifted off the ground. Alas, it disappeared in a single motion, very high into the sky at an incredible speed. I was shaken and my legs trembled. I stayed frozen like that for a long time. I wanted to go outside to see what was happening in the sky, yet I also didn't want to see anything. Curl up in a corner, waiting for the nightmare to end. But I still made the decision to go outside. I quietly opened the front door and peeked outside. My neighbors were still there, on their porch, frozen in time, still raising their glasses above them. I took a step forward, went down the 3 steps, and looked up at the sky. Given the cube's color as it vanished into the cosmos, I expected to see nothing. But that wasn't the case. There were 100 lights above me, far up in the sky. They were moving quickly, from right to left, up and down, and seemed to form a kind of triangle. and a rectangle, a circle, and other shapes as well. It looked like some kind of signal. Were they trying to gather something? Soon after, I got my answer. Because other lights joined them, and then even more. Until the sky, which was black before, became almost white. I was dazzled and scared by the bright spectacle before me. And bewildered, I raised my arm to shield my eyes from these many almost blinding lights. And that's when the noises rang out. They were loud, muffled, like trumpet sounds echoing in the ground, in the air, all around me. I remember thinking that it must be the signal, and I was right. After 3 big vibrations, everything disappeared. The lights were gone, and the sky was back to the way we knew it, a black sky scattered with stars. I immediately ran inside the house to see if my family had been woken up. But as I got closer to them, my migraine came back. My muscles started to go numb again, and my arms and legs struggled to obey me properly. I took one step, then another. When I reached my family's table, my head began to shake. Or was it the room itself? I wasn't quite sure. Moments later, my vision blurred. I saw strange movements that distorted my surroundings. Like the room was spinning into a vortex. Then, without warning, everything went back to normal. My family was laughing, drinking, and eating again as if nothing had happened. I checked my watch. It was around 1 a.m. Yet my family didn't seem to care about that moment. Between midnight and 1, as if that hour never existed. I had a panic attack, and my family quickly called emergency services. I ended my new year at the hospital, and right now, I'm in a psychiatric hospital. Of my own will. I don't know if I should believe what I saw, if all of that was really real. And that's why I'm here. That thought scares me too much. What they said still echoes in my head. If everything is wrong, then I accepted the care, and it should get better in the years to come. But if everything is true, I hope I'm dead. Before he gets to the 800th analysis of our species, because that's when they'll want to take back our planet.